Hello everybody, welcome back to another Let's Play episode of Hearthstone for Kaiserreich Russia. Let us continue on. So yeah, last time we established the foundations. We learned all about Russia's somewhat glorious, somewhat tumultuous final, 20 years, give or take, a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on how you want to look at things. But yeah, we're going to get into this. We're still trying to establish and improve our secret police. There's a couple of underground movements right now that they don't like Savinkov, but we will make sure that they are silenced to the utmost degree. The man in the Kremlin. The president was working late. His office was luxuriously decorated and classist, with portraits of earlier presidents replaced by the fathers of the Nordics. Boris Viktorovich reacted little to what he was listening to. Chairman Minister Alexander Dikhov's explanation of the security situation. Doroknana had uncovered a rumor of possible conspiracy in the military, but despite the director of security Klemenkov's best efforts, nothing concrete was yet found. Boris Viktorovich lit another cigarette and briefly remembered how the two of them had set up their temporary headquarters of the SZRS in a half-collapsed farmhouse in Shenkrutsk during the Civil War. He thought for a moment and ordered increased surveillance on the Stavka, and especially on that Mongolian bastard, which Alexander Arkovich took to mean Kornilov himself. The president understood the equation was dangerous. The longer Chernov and Nabokov slow down the consolidation of power, the more time the slow elements of the military have to plot. And many in the army simply despise the Soviniks as an unwashed mob, expected from the aristocratic morons who do not know life outside of barracks and palaces. But their time will come eventually. For now, the priority is to destroy and exterminate every threat on the way to absolute power. And fate is on our side. I mean, it looks good. You know, these are both right now at 2. The results of landform will depend on our choices. Yeah, we don't need to worry about that. So that's like in a year and a half. I'm sure we'll be fine. Oh, and somebody's been shot. Fantastic. At 4:30 today, 3 shots of the Nagant revolver were heard to echo across Russia. Viktor Chernov, head of the Social Revolutionary Party and chairman of the State Council, was assassinated at the hands of fellow party member Nikolai Leontiev, a low-ranking SR functionary. Shot Chernov in the chest 3 times at the stairs of the Grand Kremlin Palace, killing him instantly. The killer was wounded by police before he could commit suicide and was quickly transported to a hospital under heavy guard. The opposition bloc was thrown in disarray by the news. The next day, the deputy chairman, Cadet Nikolai Planovich-Vekar, took the reins, but his position was immediately under fire. He had been initially chosen as a compromise to the right wing of the opposition bloc, with no one expecting Vakar to actually become the chairman. Now he is lauded as an unacceptably right-wing and conciliatory towards the SRS by the Social Revolutionaries and the Radical Democrats, who have demanded that their own man as Vakar's deputy. It's become clear that Chernov was the linchpin of the opposition in the State Council, and it had been his skill that had kept the opposition unflinching. Though he often faced accusations of being too left for his own good, Chernov was the bedrock of the Social Revolutionaries, as well as one of the leading architects of the Russian Republic as it exists today. With Chernov's corpse still not cold, some members of the opposition have already made public statements that indirectly accuse the SREDs, if not necessarily President Savinkov himself, of being behind the killing, or at least allowing it through lax security. We lose 5% stability. We are going to appoint an advisor, Alexander Dikov Dentril, with effects, political power, policy advisor cost. I mean, if minus 40%, and you know what, that 20% stability modifier seems okay. But I mean, at this point, you know, 1936, we're now 20 years in, give or take, of the New Russian Republic. The SRs have already, you know, they've already shot 2 major political powers, right? They shot Lenin, now they shot Chernov. Who is left? If we don't act now, these SRs will shoot every single person in Russia. They must be stopped. Right now. Let's see, where are they here? PSR. Party of the Social. Yeah, there they are. We gotta get rid of them. We gotta get rid of them. Both the Social Liberal faction and the Radical Socialist faction. Both of them must. See, look, they've already collapsed. My dreams are already becoming a reality before our very eyes. The collapse of the opposition bloc. With Chernov's death, the opposition bloc had begun to disintegrate faster than journalists can even write about it. In an extraordinary session of the SR Central Committee, the left wing was outvoted, and Vladimir Rikier, former party secretary and Chernov's second-hand man, was elected as the new chairman of the party as a compromise candidate who managed to satisfy no one. Despite Director's insistence on continuing Chernov's work, he has little trust in the left. After the vote, Maria Smirnikova of the left faction commented that the so-called Socialist Revolutionary Party had lost all connection with socialism, and furthermore with revolution. That's the two things that they stand for. Despite having decayed to nothing but old reactionaries who lost their ideals 15 years ago. Afterwards, the divide between the left and the right, with Chernov had only been able to bridge the great skill, split wide open. And those loyal to Smirnova denounced the parliamentary path which had failed, and instead moved into active resistance with anyone who still has the spirit of the social revolutionaries in their chest. Seeing the writing on the wall, the more right-wing members of the opposition bloc are now eyeing with the compromise with the SZRS. With the first one to defect was Nikolai Trubetskoy of the VPP, who declared the opposition bloc dead and called for the conservatives to instead make peace with the more moderate forces of the SZRS. In mere days, the bloc had dissolved in the chaos, fear and repression. Now, little stands between Savinkov and his vision of a third Russia. Dominoes will fall. Okay, so Rick will become leader of the Social Liberals, replace the entrenched opposition with the death throes of the Republic, and look how much more political power I'm going to gain off of this. Fantastic. Social liberalism is going to go down. There's a new name for the left wing of the social revolutionaries. That is fine. But hey, look at this. We now actually gain political power. It's something that I genuinely didn't think was going to happen, but, you know, here we are. Stronger than we have ever been in our entire lives. The Leonov investigation. Despite the doctor's best attempts at the Kremlin hospital, Chernov's assailant died of catastrophic internal bleeding before he could be interrogated. Surprisingly, the investigation was quickly taken over by the 5th Department of the General Chief of Staff of the War Ministry. That is, the military intelligence under General Field Marshal Lev Kornilov's command, citing the matter as one of national security. Unfortunately, the department's investigation thus far has uncovered little hard evidence. A Petrograd native, the 34-year-old Leonovitz, joined the SRs in the early 1920s, but has otherwise struggled to hold down a job and lives estranged from his wife. More ominously, investigators have uncovered that Leonov met with a German consul only a few days prior to the killing of Chernov. Attempts to meet with this consul proves fruitless, as he evidently left on an unannounced visit to Riga the day after the chairman's assassination. Though possibly given credence to the idea of a foreign conspiracy, the investigation lacks any proof connecting Leonov to Germany, or any other possible motive for why Germany would want Chernov dead. In any case, the opposition is becoming increasingly vocal in demanding a progress for the investigation, while the general public is growing more convinced that the government has something to do with Chernov's murder. And shots... I like this one, by the way. Shots fired by Kerensky. I like the title there. Alexander Kerensky, former leader of the Russian provincial government until its overthrow began in the Russian Civil War, and held by many as responsible for it, has levied charges against Savinkov's government that it is dragging Russia on the road back to tyranny, destroying all progress Russia has made since its victory against the Bolsheviks. The former president has levied particular criticism on the government's decision to hand the investigation of Chernov's killing to General Kornilov, a move that Kerensky has cautiously described as like putting a fox in charge of the hen coop. As for Savinkov himself, Kerensky did not spare his former Minister of War either, stating that this serpent, Savinkov, will strangle Russia's freedom today in a matter that he failed to do with Kornilov 20 years ago. This isn't the first time that Kerensky has commented on Russian affairs, but as the years have passed, so has the shock value of his pronouncements, having alienated even his most fervent supporters in Russia during his brief stint at the country's helm. Many in Kerensky's motherland simply see him as a washed-out relic, banking off his past achievements to earn speaking tours of credulous Westerners. Kerensky is currently living in exile in New York City, and while his most recent batch of inflammatory statements have made the rounds in American and European newspapers, they have all but been completely ignored within Russia itself. Kerensky, and another time, man, another time maybe you would have had your chance, but unfortunately that time is not now. Okay, so let's get an offensive line into you, offensive line into Belarus, offensive line into Ukraine. And again, we're just going to kind of draw some lines up. Also, I've got to turn a fog of war here. You know, into Kyiv, into the Turkestan Republic, into, you know, good old Georgia. Like, anyone that we can invade, I would like to at least make some plans for it. So do we have, what do we have right now? Nothing. Nothing would be the answer. We have a decent amount of trains. I mean, that's cool. Everything else we don't have much of. So you're 16 combat with a little bit of artillery support. You're 21 combat with, you know what, let's get like 3 heavy-duty troops, followed by 3 lighter divisions. Light tanks. Let's duplicate this, and we're going to split you out for the mediums. Because again, we do have a medium temp. We are building medium tanks. We're just not actually doing anything with them. So we'll go 1 medium, 1 light tank for now. I think that seems okay. Train up some marine divisions. I don't know if we're going to actually really use them, but I mean, they could potentially be used for some sort of invasion into the future. And then you are garbage. Are you just the troops we have for occupation? Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they give me like a free occupation template. You know, I'm not gonna say no to that. So that's nice. I mean, if anything, they already have MPs. They do. Oh my god, we're thank you, Kaiserreich. I've never had a Holy Foreign mod treat me so nicely as to give me free military police. Okay. War in Afghanistan. There's Black Monday. Now, I don't know how much Black Monday affects us personally. Free Russia. I mean, I guess we might as well get one of you guys. And we'll send you now. Build an intelligent work in Ukraine. I think that seems reasonable. Anyway, we have third Europe now available as well. So we've completed our consolidation of security services. If we want to establish a DRS, that gives us apply the upgrade foreign department to your intelligence agency. Okay. But I think, what does third Europe do? Creates faction, Moscow Accord, war tension goes up, power projection will increase by 10. Creates some operations, influence Poland, fund the LAF. That sounds good. And what about you? Control the Supreme Court. I mean, both of those sound really good. I both want to conquer the world and also conquer the Supreme Court, so both those would be nice for us. The Berlin stock market crash. Since the Berlin Stock Exchange first perception was plunged weeks ago, businessmen and market analysts in Russia have been observed the aftershocks of Black Monday in silent horror. The flood of bankruptcies, inflation, and general panic has surged across Middle Europa and has struck Russia like a runaway train. In an eerie repetition of events 10 years ago, the value of the ruble has plummeted in sympathy with the German mark, wiping out fortunes overnight. Given Russia's close economic ties with Germany under the Vilnius Agreement, Russian industries and businesses are collapsing into insolvency almost in a lockstep with their German counterparts. Across Russia, every new day brings with it another grim tally of lost jobs and livelihoods. Factory output minus 45%. Honestly, it's not that bad. I mean, we have reduced German influence by 1. That's great. People are angrier, which, I mean, understandable. See, like, if we just took the Internationals route and just did not ever do anything with Germany, then we would have been fine. Now, if we didn't trade with Germany, I think they would have invaded us, but, you know, we'll see. A socialist conspiracy. With additional investigation into Leonov's background, the 5th Department has come up with a more convincing theory. Nikolai Leonov was a socialist radical, and the murder was politically motivated. To back his claims, Kornilov pointed to recent uncovered evidence of Leonov's connection with a radical Maximist offshoot of the Social Revolutionaries, who are alleged to have plotted Chernov's assassination due to the chairman's treasonous cooperation with the bourgeois and reactionary parties. In fact, if Leonov committed his act under orders from the less socialist revolutionaries, it would grant a justification for immediate action. Mass arrest of party leadership, banning the party organs, and eradicating the conspiracy before they can threaten the safety of the president himself. Kornilov has proposed preventative actions against the conspiracy before it can strike again, and has requested the president to activate Article 17 of the Constitution, giving the War Ministry extraordinary power to arrest any person who may be involved, with the power to crack down on any possible disorder that may follow. Well, you know what? Sure, we'll unlock assault engineers. Sounds great. Again, I would like to maybe use the Navy for something. Maybe we can invade Sweden. I think that could also be an option. Again, it depends on, of course, what Sweden and Norway and Finland actually end up doing. But they typically don't side with Russia. So we know that for sure. There's almost certainly going to be some sort of hostile force. We shall see. We're at 74. I don't know if we need to do this immediately. I mean, it's at 3. It just needs to not be over 8 by 39. While Kornilov's theory of a socialist conspiracy does fit with the typical Sovanek narrative and would give the government another reason to crack down on their leftist opponents, the Okhrana director Flegot Klepnikov has urged caution with the president. The Department of State Security Protection has been conducting their own shadow investigation and are increasingly suspicious of Kornilov's intentions. Recent reports from the Okhrana regarding Leonov's background have brought up several irregularities. no nameless drifter. It instead appears that Leonov had several relatives in headquarters of the Petrograd military district. Moreover, the Okhrana has uncovered a series of staff and garrison reshelves in Petrograd and Moscow that the army is largely neglected to mention. These could simply be coincidences or minor background work to facilitate the killing of Chernov, but some whisper that Kornilov may have greater ambitions than just helping Savinkov eliminate his rivals. Well, the fun thing with that is because, you know, we have options, we have access to this menu. We know both of those things are true. Also, you are taking heavy supplies, so we're going to actually create a new army. I'll just throw you... I'll throw you on the Finnish border for now. I'm not even going to assign you a field marshal, because I don't know how important it'll be, but just so we're not taking mass attrition in this little chunk of, you know, Belarus. I guess we could build a supply hub. There already is a supply hub. it just sucks. Okay. Can I upgrade the railroads then? There we go. Upgrade the railroads here, because apparently they cannot, for the life of them, get supplies. If I throw it on maximum, that kind of works, but even then, it's not perfect. Chernov's funeral. As chairman of the state council, Viktor Chernov is entitled to a funeral with state honors, though the idea is, of course, not particularly liked by many of the SRRS. What was intended to be a rather quick and small-scale funeral is quickly threatening to become a great mass event, as more and more people wish to pay their respects to their fallen legend. There is a distinct lack of government representation at the funeral. The only ministers present are Ivan Masky and Ivan Ilin, who proceeded to pay Chernov lukewarm respects for their long careers as statesmen. But from the opposition, there are hundreds, some having come all the way from Petrograd or Samara just to pay their respects. As the coffin is being carried, someone started to sing the first notes of Radin's Comrades, Let's Bravely March. The crowd has continued. Comrades, let's bravely march. Our resolve gets stronger in the struggle. We will fight our way towards liberty. After the funeral, the crowd of thousands gathered in the summer garden in front of Petrograd's crowd chambers. Maria Spernova held a fierce speech demanding justice for Chernov. While the protesters were shouting, "Down with Kornilov," it was obvious that their dissent also included the sitting president. The event has quickly turned into an anti-government rally led by the social revolutionaries and a public show of force by the opposition. Let's break up and arrest them. I am not letting any dissent in my country, okay? They will be arrested. Do I need to, like, shrink this line down? Like, maybe something like this will, alleviate some of our supply issues. Let's see, because we have some issues down here. We also have issues in the north as well. Again, I want to build up our rail networks. And again, it's going to be even more important once we actually start the Second Weltkrieg. Riots in southern Russia. Chernov's assassination has whipped Moscow and Petrograd into a frenzy, but they are hardly the only cities in Russia facing unrest in the wake of the chairman's untimely end. Rumors have spread like a firestorm across southern Russia, whispering that Chernov's death is the first step in a Sputnik coup d'etat. What began as factory strikes in cities like Rostov-on-Don, Yekaterinodar, and Stortopov, among others, have escalated dramatically in the last few days. Started ostensibly as protests against the SRS, the strikes have quickly drawn in other elements of the region's non-Cossack population, referred to as Ingorodine, or outsiders. The non-Cossack Slavs now form upwards of half the population of the territories in the Don, the Kuban, Terek, and Arsukhan Cossack host. Despite this, the outsiders are largely excluded from politics in owning land. They instead work in roles considered beneath the Cossacks' dignity as a military estate, such as factory workers, farmhands, or the urban bourgeoisie. This discrimination has been justified on the grounds that the Cossacks, like many mountaineering peoples, are legally considered indigenous to the region, and that their autonomy has been guaranteed under the federal constitution. Nevertheless, the state of affairs has led to profound resentment among the outsiders, which rapidly led to the recent strikes developing into bloody riots. The Cossack response has seen crowds harshly dispersed with cavalry charges and swinging whips. The outsiders have accused the Cossacks of police brutality, while the Cossacks have shot back that they only intervened when the mobs began targeting Cossack homes and families. Both groups petition for the federal government to recognize the legality of their actions. Okay. Public anger goes up by 1, or military anger goes up by 1. We lose more stability. Well, we will order them to stop because civilian is already at 3. Might as well get the military up to 3 as well and tie it. That kind of makes sense. We have raid available on some oil fields. I mean, that's cool. We're not at war with them, but you know, maybe one day. In Knight D6. As an old gambler, Boris Viktorovich decided to play Kornilov's game. He made a public appearance and commented to the press that there may be a conspiracy afoot against the government, and that several army officers have already been arrested on suspicion of involvement in Chernov's death. Such a public blaming of the army is nothing short of a declaration of war on Kornilov, and an invitation to a duel of wits. It has, however, shocked and incensed many members of the army, both among the rank and file and those involved in the assassination plot. The memories of Berilov's 1929 putsch are strong, and now the government has made clear that they will oppose any threats to the Republic from these armed forces. The past few days have seen communication between Savinkov and Kornilov break down entirely. The Supreme Court of the Army has remained silent in the headquarters of the Moscow Military District, surrounded by forces loyal to him, and avoid any response to the accusations of the president. Not giving Kornilov any more time to plot, President Savinkov has ordered him to arrive in person at a meeting of the War Ministry in the Kremlin. Well, we'll get ourselves another operative. We will send you, I think, to Ruthenia. I think that seems reasonable. We're not getting any... Oh, we're actually getting too much aluminum now. I don't know where our extra aluminum came from, but that's fine. Okay, stop trading with you. I guess we can trade the Princely Federation. I mean, they used to be able to join with us. Can they still do that? Is that a thing that they can still do? Hey, it is. Theoretically, Princely Federation can join our faction. I mean, it's unlikely, but I mean, it is there. And we're missing naval bombers and naval infantry bombers. That's fine. It's not that bad. But I will say, at least right now, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. You can enjoy it, thumbs up. Not enjoying, you can always thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.